Well, we'll just start out on a beach this time, why don't we? Just whatever, no real reason to, except for obviously going in here. This schmuck right here. That's cool, I guess. And then as soon as I walk in here, his dream is crushed. And he's just gonna sit there and cry like a bitch for all of eternity. Anyways, starting off here actually, because I wanted to pick this up. It is the shiny stone. I wanted to show off where you could actually get one of these, aside from going to Blackthorn City, when you can just buy them from there. Might as well check what the idiots in here are selling. They might be selling some TMs of some variety. Okay, there you go. Okay, that was a bit dumb, but okay, if you want to buy a shiny stone, then there you go. Go nuts. Anyways, reason I picked up the shiny stone here is because off screen I went and did a whole bunch of obtaining Pokemon, and now I have the entire Togepi line. Well, just about. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this Togetic out. Now, I only actually caught one Togepi with the Pastoral Sound. I decided to breed for another one and use that to become the Togetic, because I didn't want to catch something at 26 and have to level that up to get its happiness up and evolve it. It would be a lot easier if I raised it from level 1, and so that's exactly what I did. So this is the Togetic that hatched from the egg that you got towards the start of the game, and it now sits in my collection as the Togekiss. So hurrah! And now that is out of the way, I can go ahead and sort of just pop that there. And then also show off, I decided to go to the game corner and just get 3 Porygon. Couldn't be asked waiting until I got to Cerulean Cave, so I just decided to get the collection now. Rearranged all the unknown letters into their correct positions. Got another A off screen as well. And then I believe the only other things I have to show off are the Lucario and Riolu here. I did all this off screen as well, so that's those lines all caught and implemented into the deck, as I said towards the end of last segment. I don't know why I said that. I am a bit of a derp, but that's those lines implemented. They'll be going into the boxes once I'm done with this segment, I guess. Now then, gym time. I'm going to go ahead and fly over here, and then I am going to grab out... where are you? I'm going to grab Traptrix out here. Traptrix is probably not a good idea for an ice gym, but I'm going to roll with him anyway. I've got Sione up here as well. I'm going to go ahead and quickly switch the team up here to put Sione here. I'm actually considering swapping Sione and Crobat out on a permanent basis and making Crobat a part-time team member. It would kind of suck because I just gave it this awesome moveset with X-Scissor and Cross Poison, but I don't know. I might do it, I might not. This thing's got a wide lens, and in this case, it's actually going to work out really well because it has Fire Fang and Thunder Fang, which are perfectly accurate when you have the wide lens equipped. Rollout still has a chance to miss, although nowhere near as much. So I'm going to stick with that for this gym. And we're going to see how this works out. I've got a lot of Pokemon on my team that are weak to Ice, so I kind of have to rely on the ones that aren't weak to Ice to sort of carry the team here. Let's go on in here. And Ice Slidey Puzzles. No different than from what it was in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, but in Gold, Silver, and Crystal you only had the one room to get through. Here you've got to go through a number of different rooms, and you've got to deal with trainers. The class of which I believe are only encounterable in this gym, the Ice Path, assuming there are even any trainers in the Ice Path, I don't think there are, and Seafoam Islands, so it's not a very commonly seen class of trainer, so... whatever you reckon. Alright, let's just get crack-a-lacking into the Pokemon playthrough of the day here, since there's not much else I can really talk about it while going through boring as hell gym battles. What we're going to be talking about today is our first foray into the 6th generation. This is the first generation since Gen 3 where I actually got both games kind of, well, not quite at the same time. Basically what happened was I got Pokemon X first, and I was going to get Pokemon Y from Target, like where I got the Pokemon X from, but for some reason the Target just didn't have any copies of Pokemon Y in store, which was very, very weird. I think they said something about, like, the shipment got contaminated or some shit. I have absolutely no idea. It's been a long time since I got the game, so I've got no idea what the hell it actually was for an actual fact, so... Long story short, I had to go to another shop and get Pokemon Y, but I got them on the same day. I got them on the day they came out, on October 12th, 2013. Only reason I remember this is because it took me precisely 3 years to complete the Pokedex in Pokemon X, and that's actually the playthrough we're going to be talking about here. It is... I would probably consider it the most noteworthy save file that I have ever made in a Pokemon game, because I've completed the Pokedex before in Red and Blue. I completed it in Blue, but never actually got Mew. I completed it in Red, but got Mew from the Mew glitch, so neither of those really count because it wasn't a completely filled Pokedex. And not to mention, in both of those cases, I didn't have a living dex. This time around, I got all 721 Pokemon. I got them all in a collection. I had a living dex, and it took me quite a lot of effort to do. I would have been able to do it far, far quicker. Well, no, not really, because the Volcanion event took place in October, so yeah, it would not have taken me it would have taken me... Okay, let me try that again. To get the rest of the Pokemon, it took a lot longer than it probably should have, because I did a whole bunch of laziness. I couldn't be asked trying to look for friend codes or anything like that, so it just sort of sat there a bit stagnant for a while, but I eventually did get cracking on it when I found out that Sun and Moon were on their way out, so I got to work on that. I got all the event legendaries and stuff like that, and so I got that team all completed, and then I sent it up to Sun and Moon, so... Aside from that, though, the playthrough started off as normally as any other. I picked Froakie as my first starter. I named it Flibbit. It's not a very original name. The first name I gave to anything in Gen 6, and it wasn't very unique or really that interesting, it sounds like. But whenever I think of Flibbit, I think of the graveyard scene from Johnny English, where he just he confuses two different hearses, and then he, like... I'd have to explain the entirety of the plot, but the point is, he screws up, and then his partner has to come in and save him from all kinds of embarrassment and shit like that, and in order to get out, he just decides to start talking gibberish, and he's all like... Blebib. 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 And it's the stupidest thing ever, but it's one of the more memorable scenes of that movie because of how stupid it is. I mean, like, you already expect stupidity when you consider Rowan Atkinson's in the film. That's just sort of a given, but that one I got a bit of a cackle out of when I watched it as a kid, because it made no sense. It was very stupid. So, I'm not entirely sure if that scene actually inspired the name, but I went with it anyway because it was a frog. It sounded somewhat appropriate for a frog. I don't know. Whatever. For my grass type, I went with a Go-Goat. I was sort of eyeballing Go-Goat and thought it might make for a pretty decent choice, so I went with it. I named it Scapegoat. I would have named it Scapegoat User, but I couldn't fit it in. It was too large of a name. Even with the character limit increase that Gen 6 gave us. Up until that generation, you had only 10 characters with which to input a name. Gen 6 booted that up to 12. Unfortunately, Scapegoat User is 13 letters long, so I couldn't fit it in there, so I couldn't actually name it after the friend of mine that I was going to name it after. So I instead just stuck with Scapegoat. It works just as well. I mean, it's a goat. It's did what the goat does best, and that is just sort of sit around, bulk up, and hit hard. For my fire type, This shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody who knows me well enough, but I used Megazard X. I found out about, like, when I found out about the Kanto evolutions getting Megas, my attention was drawn squarely towards Mega Charizard. This is before I knew that the one that had been revealed at this point was the Y version, and I thought, okay, well, I might as well use it. It gives me a good reason to actually give it a crack. And then I found out that there's two of them, and then I saw that one, and I was just like, what? Then I found out it was part dragon, and then I'm just like, fucking give me right fucking now. I kind of fanboy over dragon types. It's my favorite type in the game, so yeah. I'd say, okay, I'd say fanboy is not quite the appropriate term, but it still works. So, like, I freaked out when I saw Mega Charizard X. So I went with it, I used it, I named it King Dragoon, the second Yu-Gi-Oh! Reference in the team after Scapegoat. This is named after a fusion monster that used Lord of Dragons, or Lord of D. If anybody wants to make any friggin' joke about that, then go nuts, I guess, I don't know. So that just sort of had that there. It was very physical based, and I was actually quite happy to see that, because a lot of my Charizards were usually more special based, like with Flamethrower and Fire Blast and stuff like that. So to have something a bit more physical, it was a bit nice. I still haven't actually used Megazard Y. At some point I'll try to get around to doing that, but we'll have to see what happens. Yeah, Trap Trick is not getting Ring out. That is a very... That's a weird move. Oh, we've got to have the mirror match. Mirror match! Yay! But, anyways, I like how it outspeeds me. Stupid thing. But I have a move that's neutral to it. How the fuck did you miss? Snow Cloak. The Snow Cloak I got hacked out by a Snow Cloak. Really? That is a deck move, game. Right. Okay, we'll just both switch out then. Is Glalie part rock in this hack? Well, I'm one way to find out. Yeah, it is. Okay. Really? Am I... Why is... What's all those hacks? Please explain what's all those hacks. Oh, Jesus Christ. Fuck you, Glalie. Seriously, fuck you. God, that was dickish. Alright, where's the stupid Glaceon? Fucking drop dead, you piece of shit. Drop dead. I used a fucking Heliolisk in the playthrough as well. I'm just gonna ignore that and talk about my Heliolisk. I named it Solazar. It's meant to be a combination of Solar, because it, like, is a sun-based Pokemon, and Salazar, the name. Because it sounds very slithery and Slytherin and Serpenty and Reptile, and there's a link there. It's not a very direct link, but it's a decent enough link as it is. I was quite disappointed to find out that this thing could not get Solar Beam. It draws its energy from the sun. Why the hell can this thing not learn Solar Beam? I have no idea. So I had to roll with Grass Knot. Grass Knot was not too bad, because it actually had a pretty good special attack to work with, but the point here is that it really should have the capability of learning Solar Beam. Yeah, annoying, but whatever. It had Thunderbolt, it had Hyper Beam. Stabbed Hyper Beam made it really stupid. And it had Thunder Wave as well. So that was my resident status inducer for the, like, 2 legendaries that you encountered. Like, in X and Y, you encountered a grand total of how many legendaries per game? You get the box legendary, you'd get Zygarde, you get Mewtwo, and then you get the bird. Yeah, you get 4 legendaries, and that's it. That's the one thing I can definitely fault about X and Y, is that they just didn't have that many, legendary encounters. I imagine that they would have tried to fix that up in Pokemon Z if they ever actually made one. but they just didn't. They made Auras, and then they just proceeded on to Sun and Moon for some stupid reason. So, I don't know. I don't know what the design thought was on that one, but whatever. Next, I used a Sylveon. Speaking of the evolution war that I was having earlier, I used a Sylveon. I named this thing Hyperion, which is the third Yu-Gi-Oh! Reference, because I named it after Master Hyperion. I think the only other thing that had Hyperion in its name was like a gun brand in Borderlands, but that had nothing to do with something that was quite clearly a fairy. So, even though it was a fairy, I actually did kind of like the idea behind Sylveon, so I gave it a bit of a crack. I was not aware, however, just throwing a save state here, this might be useful. I might get my ass handed to me by Price here, but we'll have to see what happens. But, and now I've just lost my train of thought. I'm just going to go on about, okay, now I remember. Because you have to give it 2 Hearts of Affection in Pokemon ME, as it was called in Gen 6. I didn't realize this at the time, and so I pushed it all the way to 5. It was dumb. I probably shouldn't have done that. Well, I shouldn't have done that full stop, because you didn't need it. But I did. I reaped the benefits from that. But I don't think it evolved until like level 29 or something like that, because if my memory serves me correctly, it didn't have baby doll eyes, and it couldn't get another fairy move until a fair amount later on, so it kind of sucks. So, lastly, was another Pokemon that I just took one look at and immediately declared that it was going to be used on my team, and that was Tyrantrum. Well, first it was Tyrant, and then I saw its evolved form, and was just like, yep, I'm going to have me a Chomposaurus. So I had me a Chomposaurus. That's exactly what I named it. It had Strong Jaw. Could have had Rock Head, but I went with the Strong Jaw anyway. That's assuming Rock Head might actually be its hidden ability, I'm not too sure. But it had the Head Smash nonetheless. It was a very powerful Head Smash. It had Crunch and a Dragon Claw and it had an Earthquake, and it was very, very damn good. It was a bit slow, but it was actually a bit faster than I was expecting. It was every bit as good as I expected it to be, though. Same thing with... It was the same thing with most of my team members, really. They all put in a really, really solid effort. I was quite happy with that. So, far be it from me to complain about that. And then, obviously, once I was done with that, they sort of just sat around for a bit. I believe I took Hyperion and King Dragoon into Alpha Sapphire to do the rematch to Elite 4 in that for the first time. That was probably the first time that Megazard X actually disappointed me, because it actually lost to Steven's Mega Gross, which was rather unfortunate. But at some point, well, I can't really do it anymore because I've sent all these up to... Actually, have I sent the team up to Sun and Moon? I don't think I have. Yeah, I don't think I've sent the team up to Sun and Moon, so I could send it over to Alpha Sapphire and knock Mega Gross out once and for all. I have to beat Alpha Sapphire first. I reset my game earlier to do a Mystery Egg run, which I will be talking about towards the end of my Pokemon playthrough of the day section thingamabob, which is... It's actually getting pretty close. There's like maybe 7 more playthroughs I have to talk about. 7 or 8, actually more like 9. So there's still a few left, but we are definitely running out. So that's going to be a bit of a thing. So yeah, I will still maintain that it is probably the most noteworthy Pokemon save file that I've ever made, just because of the sheer level of achievement that I've managed to reach with it. So I have no real reason to complain about it. It was friggin' amazing. So there you go. That was my Pokemon X playthrough. Now that's out of the way, let's actually start focusing on this frickin' gym fight. I knocked over the first 2. I've gone into trap tricks here because from what I've gathered with the other Glalie, that this thing is actually part rock, so I might be able to knock this thing on its ass with Seed Bomb. I need to try to put it to sleep first. This thing fires an ice move. Trap Tricks is going to die from it, so I'm going to try to see what happens if I Seed Bomb it right off the bat. Okay. Okay. If I Sword Stanced there, I would have knocked it out in one hit, so it would have been fine anyway. Oh, yeah, Hyper Potion. Yeah. Wouldn't have had to worry about the Hyper Potion either now, would I? You gonna use another one? No, you're not. Okay. So that's half his team down. So we had the Abomasnow, we had the Glalie. I can't even remember what the other one was. Oh, it was a Dugong. That was the one. Dugong. Now, what else has he got? I'm expecting a Mamoswine. It could possibly still be Piloswine, actually. And he might save the Mamoswine for, later on. Now, Lapras. I don't see any real reason to believe the Turbo Drum can't take care of this thing. It's just a matter of throwing Thunderbolts at this thing. Lapras is a bit bulky, though. But the fact that it's a 2 KO... Oh, no. What's that? God damn it, Citrus Berry. Now, Perish Song is a bit stupid. If it had something that allowed it to prevent me from escaping, then it would be fine, but I don't believe that it does, so we're just going to keep spamming Thunderbolt here until this thing drops dead. Price may heal it as well with a potion of some variety, so let's see if this knocks it out. Okay, crit. That crit would have been nice. I reckon it would have held on with a sliver of health had I not landed a crit. 2017 experience points, yes. I like how I picked that up too. I don't like how all I've got to drink is a glass of lemonade. That's not very good for the throat. Mamoswine, if that thing outspeeds me, which I don't think it will, it'll murder me with Earthquake. If I send in Flufin and it outspeeds me, it will murder me with Earthquake. If I send in Talia, it might have a fighting move, it might have a rock move, it could have Stone Edge. Yeah. I'm expecting this thing to have Thick Fat, which means Flufin is definitely not a good idea. I'll go with Turbo Drum, because it actually has just occurred to me that Turbo Drum, it has Levitate. I am a derp. This thing has Levitate. Why do I keep forgetting that? In this situation, the fan form would not be anywhere near as good. So I'm just going to throw a Hydro Pump at it, and it connects. Will you die from it? Got it. That was a terrible impression of... I was attempting to do like a sound that Jish was making in his Platinum playthrough when it came to like health bars going down and stuff like that, but it was absolutely terrible. It wasn't... Mine just felt very, very, very forced and just did not have as much effort put into it, so... The bedroom is buffeted by the hail. Frostlass. Let's try Flufin. I'm expecting this Frostlass to outspeed me because it's pretty quick. It can also use Shadow Ball, which is pretty damn bad. Speaking of said Shadow Ball. Tank it like a beast. Do you have Hyper Thin defenses? Yes! That was slightly delayed, but there we go. Alright, that's cool, I guess. God damn it. Why did I have to say it was cool in a ice gym? Oh, I suck at life. Alright. So now that we have the Glacier Badge and the ever so useless Hail TM, that's cool. So yeah, now that we have Whirlpool, we can actually go and have a look in the Wild Islands right now if we wanted to. I'm not going to do that because the only Pokemon that are available down there that I haven't gotten are Pastoral, Meridian Sound stuff, and a couple of evolutions of stuff that I've got, which, yeah, like evolutions that I haven't already got. Those are all down in the lowest possible floor, which you can't access until you have the Tidal Bell. So I'm going to have to... I'll go and pick those up. Well, I can't pick those up until I've knocked Claire over and picked up the bell. So, yeah. Yeah. Team Rocket's gone and taken over the radio tower now. And as a result, all of the radio channels are broadcasting Team Rocket. So if you're hoping to get any Meridian and Pastoral Sound stuff at this point, you've been given a resounding fuck you by Team Cocket. I'm not going to call them Rocket anymore, they're just Cocket. So, we kind of got to go and boot them out. But it is kind of on the tedious side, not going to lie. I've never really liked having to go through the radio tower to deal with all that sort of stuff, so there you go. Now we're just going to get our 16 members back, reset this. I like how, once again, I've gone into a part-time team member and have not actually used them in the absolute slightest in the battle itself, so yay, I guess. At least Sioni's getting some screen time after being shafted, but oh well. Okay, so you can go through here now, I guess. That's probably because you need to go down here anyway in order to pick up a rocket outfit. Yeah, here we go. So, that's cool. So we can do that. Our picture is not at all different on the trainer card. But I'm just sort of around here wearing some Team Rocket gear, and people are just too stupid to realize that they just look at the clothing and judge accordingly, and just completely ignore the fact that I may be somebody just sort of in disguise or whatever. And yeah, there's actually nobody here. I guess if I go into the buildings or anything like that, it might set some people off, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and waltz on in here. I didn't instruct you to do shit. Do us rockets all look the same to you, bitch? Really? I didn't even know what the fuck that was. That felt so forced as well. I can't even begin to tell you how stupid I feel right now. So I'm just gonna ignore the fact that was even a thing. Alright. Let's pop another save state here. And we'll get... well, that's cool, I guess. Yay! It worked! If I had my webcam on, you would see my face as this happens. Thank you for fucking my disguise over, you insignificant fucking twit. That is the reason I have always hated the rival in this game. Because he's just like, no, fuck you. I don't give a fuck if you're against Team Rocket with me. I'm not siding with you. I'm popping your disguise just because I'm a fucking prick. Fuck you too. And fuck you, Raticate, for super fanging me. Now if this thing uses double edge, it's going to put trap tricks on her ass. So let's go ahead and use Lemonade and see if it's going to use double edge. I'm calling double edge. Fucking called it. It outspeeds me as well. I should have put this thing to sleep first. You are really pissing me off right now. Talia, get in there and wreck house. Beedrill, okay. I will put you on your ass with Bobat. Just so that you can prove your worth. That was a critical, I think, so I'm not going to count that. You still have not proven your worth. Alright, whatever. God, you are an idiot. I'm going to beat the person who trains the strongest Pokemon in all of existence in the Johto region. Good fucking luck, you idiot. My god. You are a twit. You are a complete twit with issues. Moving on. I'm not here to amuse you. Do I look like a stand-up comedian to you? No. That's what happens when you decide to just sort of piss me off. And when other people decide to piss me off. Tricky Dicky. I've always hated... That's the one thing I've always hated about Wheezing, ever since Gen 3. I've always been able to kick their ass with Earthquake and stuff like that. But since Gen 3 became a thing, it's just like... No, you can't hit them anymore. So now it's just like, Ice Beam. Murder you anyway. I'm surprised at how powerful Talia's special attack has become. That's pretty respectable. I have to give you points for that one. Lead with Trap Tricks. If this thing is outsped by this dickhead's lead, then obviously we're going to try to put this thing to sleep. That's based on the assumption that it's going to outspeed. Or it can just be resistant to everything that I have and force me to switch out anyway. Speed up key, Dunsparce. If you can't beat a Dunsparce, you're getting booted straight from the team. Good. Swallow. Crunch. You to death. And Mightyena. -1 attack? Doesn't matter. I kill you in one shot anyway. I don't give a shit. I'm just here. I'm just here to clean house. That's all I'm doing. Y'all are fucking dust bunnies. I'm not gonna say stupid, because I'm not Guzma. But I'm just gonna say y'all are fucking dust bunnies. So let's dance up. Crunch to kill you to death. And crunch. One shot amok with a +2 Swords Dance Crunch. That is how powerful Trap Tricks can be. It's unfortunate that the slight lack of speed is sort of hurting you a bit. Oh well, it's still quite respectable, so it is what it is. Might as well just keep her up the front here. I'm not even sure why I've decided to keep rolling the segment and just do this first bit here of the radio tower. I guess it's just because I said I was going to do that, but there's no real reason to do so. I mean, if it turns out that the Friday segment is just like 30 minutes long after having done this bit, then might not be the worst idea. I don't know. Could be good. Alright. Yeah, well, I don't really give too... Why do you have a level 42 Machop? I'm not going to say anything. I'm really not. I am just going to ignore Last Resort, and I'm just going to completely go full speed up and just completely destroy everything that this person has on their team. That pisses me off more than you could ever possibly imagine. At this rate, it looks like we're going to knock over the first of the executives, though, so I guess that's a pretty good point to reach and then stop. But obviously going back to heal is wasting time and making the segment go longer than it should have any real right to, because I don't want to have, like, all these ridiculously long 40-plus minute segments. I had a bunch of those in, I think it was earlier this week, like, towards the end of last week, and it was kind of eh. And I didn't really like how that worked, but eh. Marvel Scale has not been very useful. That's probably because Kaiser either... If it gets hit by something that can actually hit it for a status, it usually knocks it out anyway. I am calling... Why? Surely you've got something like Gyro Ball, right? Why would you use Block? Anyways, I was calling Heat Proof on that thing, just that, by the way, it was able to take those flamethrowers. Lock on. In this case, you won't even have the chance to connect, because I'm just going to knock you out before you can use an attack. One more schmuck on this floor, it seems. Well, aside from that guy behind the door there, but he's a different story. I've got to go and get something else before I deal with him. Okay, cool. I didn't even pay attention if he used, like, minimize any at all or not, so... whatever. He's up on the 5th floor. Except he's totally not. Heal you up. You are now level 43, so you can go back to the pack. Back of the pack. Ugh. Whatever. So sad. You have a Nidorino. You have an Electrode that I outsped with a Quick Claw. Whatever I feel like I want to do. That was like a even deeper version of Napoleon Dynamite's voice there. Like, that was glorious. I think he was talking about Blue, otherwise known as Gary Motherfucking Oak. I'm not that interested at all because... yeah. Porygon 2. You are superpower food. Executor. This is your test, Bulbat. If you can put this Executor on its ass with an X-Scissor, then you will have proven your worth. I'm gonna call min damage on that one just because I'm so incredibly biased towards this thing. If it had that level up, it would totally have been able to tank. Okay, that was stupid. This is a stupid and unnecessary fight. I also like how that thing managed to use assist and get what I'm guessing was toxic off it. That's a bit derp. Whatever. Delcatty. You gonna die. Thank you. You're so ignorant. You trigger me with your existence right there. Insignificant and unintelligent rocket grunt. Here we go. Throw state. And guess what? More of this idiot. God, it's like Steve Buscemi with a derpy looking fucking comb over or some shit. I don't even know what the hell his fucking hair is. All I know is he's an ugly motherfucker. And he has a dead Raticate. Just like Blue. Hey. Right. Intelligence tells me that this Toxicroak possesses Stone Edge. I'm going to go into Bulbat anyway, because I still think that Wing Attack should do a decent number on this thing. Yeah, there's the Stone Edge. Tank it like a beast. Okay, Bulbat has gone a long way to proving its worth in this raid of Team Rocket here. Put it to sleep. Damn it. I wasn't even expecting this thing. I wasn't even expecting this thing to have Toxic. I was expecting Hypnosis. Guess that's what I get for being one-dimensional in my thinking there, I guess. Wheezing. Well, I dropped one of these on its ass earlier with Ice Beam. Let's try this. Let's give it another crack. You know, this whole... He's using Toxic Stall. That's one of the stupidest goddamn strategies I've ever seen in my life. The fact that it's viable pisses me off as well, because it should not have any right to be, but it does. Whatever. If I outspeed it with Kaiser here, how can the executives heal it? What the fuck is this? You're pissing me off a lot more than you have much of a right to. Wait, is this the last team member he's got? Thank Christ. Okay, yeah, that did take 40 minutes. I didn't want it to take 40 minutes, but it has. Well, that's unfortunate. But we're going to deal with it anyway. I'm not going to heal because I'm going to go back to the Pokemon Center to do just that, so I don't need to waste a full heal in order to do that. Besides, it's not like it's going to die anyway. It tanks poison with 1 HP left in this generation. I believe the whole residual damage thing while walking was abolished in Gen 5, so there you go. It's only deadly in Gen 3 and earlier. That's not too bad. It might not be a terrible idea to do a little bit more grinding, but Lord knows where I'm going to be able to do that. I got 2 lucky eggs though, so it wouldn't take very long if I needed to do so. Only reason I'm bringing this up is because the next fight I have is against Beepus, and he might be a bit of a doozy, so we're going to have to see what he has in store next time, and then I've also got to knock over 3 more goddamn executives. Wish me luck for that one. It's going to be all sorts of hell.